but ultimately really gathering data throughout all this period of time to provide to you what you need. And education is such a personal thing, meaning one student to another learns very differently relative to what they can consume, what they can remember, and what they should be provided. And to your point on curriculum, right? I mean, for an entire class, but down to the individual, that takes a tremendous amount of data to figure out. And it's an interactive process which needs incredible speed to react to it. That's AI, right? So I think there's a real opportunity for personalized education to a certain level. And again, I think it's just one example where a commercial piece has moved its way into a more practical human element, right? Which is no.
Matt, I had a question. Just going into the future, what is the AI interface going to be for us? Right now we've got chatbots, we've got lots of options amongst them. Some of them talk to us, some of them don't, some are text-based. Right. So how are you and I going to engage AI for our lives, let's say 10 years from now?
So every time I get a question that I'm supposed to answer, like for 5 to 10, I always say, can I do 1 to 2? Because it's just a lot easier to figure it out. If you look back 12 months, 15 months, 18 months, the velocity that AI has transformed itself in the different applicability. Look at multimodal across video and voice and across all. It's incredible what's already being put out. I'd be guessing at 10 years. I mean, to be candid with you, there's this concept of AGI as you get into where will we ever cross over into that? There's a lot of philosophies, folks a lot smarter than I am that could give you an opinion on that, whether that will ever come to fruition, because it is a debate, and when it will come into fruition. But that's kind of the next frontier if we ever get there. I feel like a lot of what we're doing now is going to refine, but it's amazing how many companies that have spun up that are AI related right now just because of what it's enabling to do, to get better at voice, better to go across language, to get across everything from sight or the entire experience that you can now consume multimodal wise, and most of the models can do that now. So it's tough to say 5 to 10 years. I think you're definitely going to see this continue to accelerate with consuming multiple types of data and combining it into one experience for individuals, and I think that will continue from that perspective.
Emily, there's the entire issue of regulation and laws which safeguard. Who decides those laws and those safeguards? Because, you know, I mean, we live in an interconnected world.
Well, the government sets the laws. But what I want to say here is it's really important for governments to open up the conversation with the private sector and to be in the room together and in dialogue. And not just at WEF or at a round table or on a panel, but actually going through the problems together. And so, you know, there's a couple things that I think we've seen work, which is when governments really do enter into here's the problem, this is what we need to solve, let's really hash it out with a number of private sector actors in the room. We want to protect these things, but we also want to innovate in this way. Let's do it together. So that's one. The second is that governments can set up sandbox environments with private sector companies where there is a safe space, where we're innovating together, there's some level of protection, we're making sure that it's safe before we roll it out. But I would also say, since we're at a global event and going beyond India, I would just say, for governments, it's really important, I would say, not to race to setting your AI standards, because if you do it too prematurely, you're going to stifle the innovation. And then to go back to my comment earlier, you're going to be in that disrupted state. So that real collaboration between private sector and governments right now is critical. And most private sector companies that I speak to, or others will speak to, Google, et cetera, are looking for governments to do this regulation and keep it safe. Because it's not something that the private sector can do on their own.
Yeah. We're going to start wrapping this up. Archana, go ahead.
Yeah, just one or 2 points. One is that I think as the government thinks about regulation, it's really important that you think about communities, right? What we haven't spoken about during our discussion is the fact that those capacities for, misinformation, as AI is evolving or technology is evolving, there is a huge need for capacity building at the last mile. People should understand the perils that technology also bring together, and therefore when the regulations are made, they should be based on, one is protecting people and safeguarding privacy, but also thinking about interoperability, data exchange, therefore collection of data in a manner that health data, agriculture data, education data is standardized, can talk to each other, which is what India is known for with its digital public infrastructure work that's been done. And the last point I would say is, as you think about regulation, think about, voice of community as well. Bring them, they should also be represented as the regulations are made. So that the AI itself is inclusive, it delivers social good for what it's been envisioned, and can deliver economic progress as well, with private sector coming in and partnerships.
Mr. Lokesh, one last word from you. Isn't it wonderful that we live in India, in a country which has 5G, we are moving to 6G with the lowest data costs in the world, and with huge numbers. When 3G became 4G, we were cynics. When 4G became 5G, we became cynics. But the speed of communications is incredible. How much are your dreams about Andhra Pradesh and AI closely linked to the continued rollout and the inexpensive rollout of data and 5G technology?
I mean, access to data has fundamentally transformed India. I mean, if you look at, there are enough of reports that suggest as per capita consumption of data goes up, so does per capita income.
Yeah.
It's tightly correlated. So as a state, our job is to bring about that access. It could be through a government intervention or enabling the private sector by right of way or any other mechanisms, and make it very affordable. But parallelly, what I believe is very, very important is exposing our citizens to the various tools, again, and explaining to them the perils of those tools. Then I think the citizens, greater part of society, can actually take an informed decision on how to use these tools a lot more effectively. And we are seeing that. We've seen that in agriculture, we've seen that in healthcare, we've seen that in aqua. We're now starting that with education. So I think both of them go in parallel.
Well, I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. It's a fascinating conversation, but one which will rapidly change over the years. I suspect if we had the same panelists 3 or 4 years down the road, when AI itself and the technology available starts evolving to new requirements, then perhaps the contours of this entire discussion would be very different. But that's what makes it so tremendously exciting. What is the future of AI? I suspect not very many know what it would truly be. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you.